We're the Broker Sisters. I'm Addie Jane Lynn in Charleston, South Carolina. My husband and I own King Tide Real Estate. We have some agents who work for us also. And the reason Jenny and I chit chat is because we are both broker owners and in different cities, different markets, but we like to compare and chat. And we've been doing this our whole lives, grew up in the business, and we're going to just loop everybody else in and you can tell about yourself.
I am Jenny Shaneyfelt. I am the qualifying broker and owner for Redbridge Real Estate here in Huntsville, Alabama. And like Addie said, we chit chat often about challenges of our companies because we do the same thing, but in different cities. And our cities are both growing. And anyways, it's fun, and we thought that our conversations would be beneficial to everyone.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we've been having these conversations our whole life. Let's
Yeah.
be real. Mom's a realtor, dad multi-generational builder, and this has been our life. But Jenny has another background. Jenny used to be a teacher, and then she was a reading coach, and she's got lots of degrees and stuff. So she's real smart. I have one degree.
I recently got my GRI. Did I tell you?
Yes. Yeah. Which you can explain to everybody what that is.
Graduated Real Estate Institute.
Oh, so it's like a real estate degree?
Kind of. I guess closest thing that a realtor would get to a degree.
Yeah. See.
But it doesn't take 4 years to get.
Right. Sure.
But anyways, but I learned a lot getting it. So I had to take a lot of classes. So anyways.
That's good. Well, today we thought we would chit chat about what makes up a good realtor.
Yes. And that is a very interesting topic because a lot of people have different ideas, and it's always very disappointing, especially like I was having a conversation with my inspector this morning, or one of my inspectors this morning. And he was like, it wasn't until I started this job until I realized how hard realtors work. He was like,
oh.
Yeah, he was like, honestly, I think the majority of the population just doesn't understand what realtors do, and they're underappreciated. And like I've told you before, many people hate us because there are a lot of people out there who think that we're like used car salesmen. The real estate kind of sells itself. We don't have to use big sales tactics in order to improve our chances of selling things, or crooked sales tactics, I should say. But yeah, so there's lots of, but I think that it's difficult for the general population to, even if they don't even know what we do, then how could they possibly figure out what a good agent would be? So
yeah. Well, and a lot of things on our list, I would say, is feedback I've gotten from actual true clients, and I can share some of those little tidbit stories. But a client who says, well, I really like you, or I chose you because, and some of those items are on our list. So
Yep. So like what?
Let's see. Well, the second one we have on our list, which is integrity. I just had somebody recently say, I really choose you because of your faith and integrity. I just feel like you are going to be honest with me, and that's really what I'm looking for. So I appreciate that feedback, and he really doesn't know me that well, but I guess just gathering from my social media and everything, he understands that I am a woman of good character.
Well, I think that goes to another quality of a good realtor is that we're willing to be vulnerable and show our true selves. And I think that goes to being honest too. We're honest too about who we really are and not trying to put on persona. I think that's another thing that makes a good realtor is somebody who's not trying to put on a persona. Like, I think there's a lot of people out there who feel like they have to like put a public, what is the word? Like a public, yeah. Like I got to pretend like I'm this kind of person, and I can't really be that real person in front of people on social media or whatnot. But I think, like you said, like you just gave an example of how important it is to be yourself and be real with your general audience and situations like this where we're speaking, and situations like social media, because it helps people to connect with you. And really, before they even call you, they'll know you because they've been watching your videos, or they've been, watching your posts on Facebook and reading them, and they feel like they already know you, and that's okay. And that's a good thing because they feel comfortable and they know what to expect.
Yeah, well, with that vulnerability, about a month ago, or maybe a couple weeks ago, I had a moment like this. What?
Is dinner ready?
Oh no, that's my email. My email ping, ding. I got an email. I don't know how to turn that off, by the way. If I turn that off, then it turns off you. So you have to my email ping from my computer. So.
Okay, sorry I interrupted. I just thought we were having dinner.
But vulnerability. Okay, so my 1-year-old baby took a selfie picture of herself and somehow sent it to one of my clients. $1 million price point, sent it to my clients. I didn't even know. I don't know how I didn't know, but then I get this text message like 4 hours later that's like, cute pic. Are we on for tomorrow? And I was like, oh my gosh, he's sitting here waiting on me to like respond about this. It was an inspection or something. And he gets a picture of my baby's like, just like from down here, it's like fat cheeks and all,
Oh, so precious.
Anyways, I thought I was ruined.
I'm glad it wasn't a picture of you or something like.
Oh, I know. Well,
what anybody weird.
Seriously, now I'm scared. I really am. She has my phone.
I would be too.
I'm worried. But I mean, I just thought it was terrible. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to think I'm so unprofessional. And he's going to think, oh my gosh, I got my baby, my phone, and that's where all my business is. But he had a completely different reaction. He was like, I got to tell you that when things like that happen, it like humanizes people. And he said, I just loved it all day. I looked at it so many times. I just loved it so much. Your baby and her fat lips and cheeks. And he was like, I was just so glad. I mean, I'm telling you, it tickled me. It's the best thing all day. I was like, okay. So, vulnerability, able to get there it really makes people more comfortable with their biggest home purchase. I mean, biggest purchase,
Yeah. And I think there's a different, like there's a wall there. Like you can still be a real human and still be very professional. Like I know I took my friends to see a house once, and it was the first time that I'd ever shown them a house. And I had been friends with them, for a long time, and we hung out together several times. And then when I showed up to show them a house, I was fully dressed to show them a house. Like I was, very professionally dressed. I met them at their car with an umbrella because it was raining. I had already opened the house. It turned all the lights on. I had flyers in hand to give them. And he was just like, okay, I just didn't expect you to show up like this. I expected you to be like, like normal clothes because we're just friends. And I was like, my friends deserve professionalism as much as any of my clients do.
I know. I told my friend, I listed a friend's house and I showed up with my whole listing packet. Like we have these fancy glossy folders with all these glossy things inside, and then all the contracts and the files and comps and CMAs, okay, in this fancy folder. And I show up with fancy folder and I'm dressed nice too, like you said. And then I'm going through with my notepad and I'm like helping with staging and what do we need to clean up. And she made a comment about it, and I was like, I know we're just friends, but I do take my job seriously. So, and she's like, yes, I love it. This is great. So that's good. What else on our list? So we put problem solver on our list, which we've touched on in some of our other videos, but realtors, we're constantly putting out fires. I had a home inspector. He used to give this speech, and I was so grateful when he gave this speech to the buyer. He was right, spot on. He's like, listen, you guys, I'm giving you this inspection, blah, 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 this and that inspection. He said, but you got to know that for every phone call your realtor makes, she's making 20 behind the scenes. And that's all part of the problem solving, being able to navigate. And experience does that. Experience gives you, ability to put out the fires all day long,
Yeah, that's so very true. But it also leads to, you might be doing a whole lot of other things in the background, but you're also, it goes to what I was saying about empathy. Like a lot of the phone calls that I make are about communicating with my customers, because I'm pre-thinking in my head, what is it that they're going to be nervous about? What is it that they're going to have questions about? And because of my experience, I had so many customers ask me questions that I take notes in my head and think, okay, well, the next customer I have, I'm going to make sure and answer that question before they ever have the question. And so a lot of times, if a customer calls me, I actually feel like that's, I've done a disservice to them, because I feel like I should have called them first. I should have had forethought about what their questions were going to be, and I should have called them first. So that goes to communication. Like, we're always thinking and constantly contemplating about what kind of questions might they have. How can I prepare them for things they're going to be nervous about? And I mean, that's what a good realtor does. I mean, they think about the things that are going to make a homeowner or a buyer nervous about the process, making sure they understand the process, making sure they answer questions before they ever even have the question. So,
well, and also just part of that is support in the fact that when they do actually call, we answer the phone because it's so stressful. The whole home buying process is pretty stressful for most of my clients. There's very few clients who are just easy breezy through the whole thing. And if they got something hot, pressing, stressful on their mind, and we go 24 hours without answering, which I don't do that, by the way, but it's just they need to speak to somebody right then, even if it's just to ease their, fears or stress or whatever. And so I call that realtor support.
Yeah, like I had this one customer who we got into a phone call conversation, and it was a couple. And they got into a fight on the phone with them. And because they were constantly having this conversation about what they should do and whether this was this or this was that. And they just needed a sounding board. They needed somebody to be able to sit there and listen to the conversation and be like, well, this is what I think, you guys, and not to say that I'm going to be a marriage counselor, because these guys did not need a marriage counselor. But I mean, I'm just trying to say that there's a lot of times when we're not even giving a lot of advice. It's more of emotional support, for situations that are stressful. So
Well, that leads into one of them. We said a good realtor with emotional intelligence is a good quality. You want to talk about what emotional intelligence is?
It's kind of hard to define, isn't it?
It really is.
It's really what we're talking about. It's being empathetic. Well, it's kind of like what I just said about.
Yeah, it's a lot like what you just said.
Forethought about being empathizing with the way that they feel, and actually putting yourself to the side, because a lot of times we can get all caught up in, you guys are really taking up too much of my time, and y'all are being disrespectful to me. And, you just need to be empathetic to the fact that sometimes that, like what you just said, that buying a home is probably one of the scariest things that a person can do. And I mean, it's not for me because growing up in a real estate family, it's like just another day. But for so many people, they have a completely different personality that didn't grow up in a real estate business. It is so,
or even those that don't grow up in an entrepreneurial home, like if their parents did very strict 9 to 5, that American box, then the whole outside of the box is way tougher.
Yeah. So, and we're like, I guess we're more risk takers, and not necessarily, that's not a bad thing, but yeah, we just are not afraid to just jump off the cliff and hope, we'll just figure it out when we get there. But you know what I mean? I just mean that it's easier.
Calculated risks. We take calculated risks. Okay. Also, emotional empathy. I added this stress managers. So ability to handle stress and, able to handle your own emotions so that you can help your customer handle their emotions. But the stress management's one, which I always attribute growing up in a big family to why I can handle stress and chaos. It was, I guess I just got groomed for it. So, but
Yeah. We're really good at chaos. But honestly though, a lot of times it's like, you're just the calm because, well, I mean, when you've been through the transaction of buying a house so many times, like, no, it's gonna be fine. No, it really is gonna be fine. Like everything's gonna be fine. And but I mean, there's also situations where you know that it's not gonna be fine, but then you know that you prepare your customer before that, you make sure that, well, I know that this could possibly happen, so you need to make sure and do this, like a home inspection. It could be terribly wrong with the house, but you have forethought about that, and you're like, well, we're just putting the contract that we have an inspection, that it's dependent on contingent upon the inspection.
Or my favorite right now is buckle up because you are not going to pay asking price. We are going to pay over asking price. So please don't go in this market right now thinking you're going to get a good deal.
Yeah, I don't know who said it, but somebody in my GRI class, they said, you just need to start getting in the habit of telling your customers, are you going to make an offer on the house or do you want to actually buy the house?
I like that.
Things are very different, I mean, you can offer to say, hey, I'll make an offer, or you can actually just say, okay, buy it now. Like those little buttons they have. I don't know if it's it's like on eBay and those sites like that you can make an offer or you can buy it now. It's like, you want to make an offer or you want to buy it now? Because in the seller's market like we're in, you need to just buy it now. Mm-hmm. So because the offers are not really going to be looked at. So,
well, another part of that emotional intelligence is the positive attitude. You see the glass half full type of thing. And I think that's easy for you and I, Jenny, but it makes a good realtor because
we're optimistic.
It's not this constant trauma. Oh my gosh, this happened. And then you freak out your buyer or your seller.
And when there is trauma, you don't stress out about it, or at least, we end up we know how to like be the buffer. Like, like even if I have a situation that I'm like, okay, this could be really bad. It's like to my customer, I'm gonna be like, okay, everything's okay. We're going to be okay. And then I'm going to call and do everything I possibly can to make sure that actually never comes to fruition. You know what I mean? So, but anyways.
Well, another part of it would be knowledge of the local housing market, knowledge of the industry. Jenny, I know you take a lot of extra classes. I was taking a lot of extra classes. Until this year when my baby was really hard to get away from, but I'll jump back in those classes soon.
See, well, I do take a lot of classes. I'm actually on one of the, or I contribute a lot to the education department at our local association, because obviously being a teacher in the past, I try to make sure I think that, and I volunteer a lot to do teaching and stuff like that because I feel like you don't really know it until you can teach it. So when you go in front of an audience to teach, like the amount of anxiety that creates forces you to prepare yourself. And in the process of preparing yourself, you learn the information well. Because if you can't, it's like Einstein said, if you can't explain it, you don't understand it well enough. If you can't make it simple and easy to understand, you don't understand it well enough. And I think that that's really critical, especially in being able to explain things to customers, because if you can make it real simple and explain it in a really simple way, it takes that anxiety piece out of them. So I do everything I possibly can to learn everything I can. And I mean, that goes to show that the community too, and making sure I understand my market, studying the.
I do that a lot. I've been doing these Monday market updates, and that's something I'm doing anyways, watching the market, the hot sheet and everything, but I started sharing it just so that everybody can see, as we watch the market, how many houses are in our MLS and what, the absorption rate is and all of that, but just keeping a keen eye on that.
I need to start doing that too, Addie, because I've always been impressed with your videos, because if nothing else, it actually, if you're doing it every Monday, it kind of puts it in your schedule so that you actually are, it's just part of what you do every single week. So I might start doing that too. So I like that.
I've got some good feedback on sharing those.
Mhm.
So kind of spinning off of knowledge, also network. So a realtor with a good network is going to be your winner. But no, I've had a lot of clients, when they write me a Google review or, they refer me to their sister, brother, whatever, they say, it wasn't just that Addie was, a good realtor, but it's all of her people. We liked, her home inspector recommendations and her attorney and even the contractor after we moved in and blah, 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 blah. So I just, having that pocketbook of phone numbers and people.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true.
Stagers, painters,
Other realtors.
repairmen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, realtors too. You're right. Because and investors. I had one listing that had foundation issues, and I just went down my list of investors. Like, you want to buy this? You want to buy this? You want to buy this? And I sold it. So, having that network makes a big difference.
It does. And how do you get the network?
Experience, being involved in the community, doing a lot of deals. I mean, how do you get the network?
Well, I mean, I guess I show up to a lot of events and talk to people a lot, but I know that, like, especially like with mortgage people and contractors, like, honestly, sometimes they rotate because sometimes they'll drop off. Like, I recently had a customer of mine tell me that I recommended someone and to do a fence, and in the past they've always done a really good job, and I've gotten really good feedback from my customers. And then this past time they were like, he did a botched job, he wouldn't show up, so like he fell off the wagon.
Yes, me too. It's revolving. It's constantly churning those names.
Yeah. So then I have to pick up a new one and find and make sure that he's good, make sure to vet them. And so it's just like, or like sometimes like a mortgage person gets like really, really, really busy and they start having so much work that they're not responding to my customers. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to move on to another one and start recommending them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like an inspector, like I had an inspector once. Okay, so dinner time.
Sorry, I get a lot of emails.
But yeah, I had an inspector once that was like, he scared my customers so bad that there were like 3 different contracts we went through, and they did not want to buy the house each time because he would go and inspect the house and it was not a good house. And I'm not saying that I don't want an inspector to be honest and to tell all the problems of the house, but you can word things in a way and put things in a way.
Well, explain how you're going to fix this. If it's something you can fix when you move in and it's fixable, then it's okay. We're just going to fix it, or we're going to ask the sellers to fix it. But
yeah.
I had one
like when you call the homeowner on the phone or the home buyer on the phone, and you're just like, oh my God, the whole house is falling apart, and and no, it's just and the roof has only got 1 year left, and but then there's like no leaks in the roof, and there's no the every and I think that there's a balance there. And, you need to explain things in a way that you can say, this is really good and it needs to be looked at more professionally with like an inspector on the foundation or a roof inspector, and then get the roof inspector out there to look at it, so to make you feel better about it. So, or you can just say the whole sky is falling. Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to say that it's one time and then it's 3 contracts. Right.
So I don't know. There's conflict of interest there. He got 3 home inspections.
Weird.
Yep. You know what? We have made it down our list a lot, but we were talking about networking, which kind of leads into a love for the community.
Yeah, this is true. I think you and I both don't have a problem with that at all, though, because I know you love Charleston, and Obviously, I love Huntsville because of,
Well, I
yeah.
love Huntsville too.
Yes. But, and especially, I mean, I think though that like Huntsville has grown so quickly, and it's funny because we like grew through COVID, and like through COVID, everyone stayed home. So like now that COVID's starting to like dwindle a little bit,
And
like,
everybody's back on the roads and in the stores. You're like,
oh my gosh, we have a lot of people here.
yep. Well, us too. We've experienced the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Traffic
So,
like tripled.
do what?
Traffic tripled.
Yes, but we also got a lot of cool new stores. Like we got an REI and a Trader Joe's, Dave and Buster's. I mean, we got all kind of stuff exploding from the seams. We got new restaurants galore. But but I particularly love the stuff that's been here my whole life. Like obviously the Red Bridge that's named after our real estate company. That's in Big Spring Park. So I love Big Spring Park and the Tinsel Tree Trail where we have all the Christmas trees and the things that we've just been doing for years and years traditionally, like Harrison Brothers. But my favorite Christmas time thing is, well, the Galaxy of Lights too, but my favorite Christmas thing that my family and I have been doing for several years now is the candlelight Christmas. And this year, I don't know if I told you or not, but I took all of my customers to the candlelight Christmas. And it was so cool. And I mean, there are things that I wish that I want to do better next year. But it turned out so good. And there were so many people that came and they enjoyed it too. And what I love about it too is that, the Burr Museum is like like the most beautiful view in the whole city, but it is also like historical to Huntsville, and it's not one of those places where everyone goes. Like I know when I talk to a lot of people, I'm like, have you ever been to the Burr Museum? They're like, no. So I worry about it not getting the funds necessary to sustain itself. So what's really great about what I've done in inviting all these people is that people who have never been before, they now know about it and they're like, oh my God, we're going to come back and do this every year. So I'm actually helping to fund the Burritt Museum now because they might end up joining as members because it was their first time and they would not shown had I not introduced them to it.
Yeah. And the Burritt does all kinds of events and stuff like all summer long, right? And
yeah, like they have this during the summer they have Wednesday nights, they have a cocktail hour where you can sit and watch the sunset and drink a cocktail on the veranda where you can overlook the city. And they also have like concerts up there. That's Adam and I's favorite date. Like we go up there and watch a concert as we watch the sunset, and it's like so cool. It's just romantic. You can bring a picnic with you and go sit on the lawn and eat your picnic while you drink wine. It's kind of nice. So what's your favorite part of Charleston?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously I love Charleston too. And then loving my city is a big part.
Who doesn't like Charleston, right?
It's so fun.
I never met anybody that doesn't like Charleston.
Well, maybe some people who've been living here and got crowded out. Because there's not a lot of people here. But my favorite Christmas activity is the holiday parade of boats. So there's a boat parade where just like they do floats on the road, they do the boats and they make them into floats like lights and everything. It's at nighttime, so they make the lights, the blow up things, and all these people sponsor a boat and fun stuff. And it goes from the Cooper River through the harbor up the Ashley River, so it kind of touches the whole a big chunk of our metro area. I always love that. A couple of years we watched the parade by boat. You can watch it from land down the Charleston Battery or out in Mount Pleasant. But we watched it by boat a couple times, but it's just a cold ride home after that.
Especially in December, I guess, huh?
Well, sometimes, I mean, I think it's this weekend, and I think it'll probably be warmer this weekend.
It's warm
so some
here.
years it's fine. Yeah, some years it's totally fine. But yeah, I mean,
it's always interesting that the weather here always arrives here like a day early, and then you always have our same weather.
We get it the next day or two. I know, and I love it.
It's pretty warm today.
Yeah. So whoever my friends and family are whatever their weather is on social media, then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get that tomorrow. But I don't know. Yeah. I mean, Charleston has so many historical sites too. I mean, from the Angel Oak to downtown, Rainbow Road, the Battery, plus our forts and all the history. But yeah, I love this town. We have a lot of fun.
I enjoyed going when I came to visit you. I enjoyed going to Fort Sumter.
That was cool. Fort Sumter was cool.
Well, I mean, I think it was cool just to realize that, and this is kind of morbid, but I just felt like, golly, how many people died here?
Yeah.
This is, there's a lot of American blood spilt here, kind of brings you back to reality a little bit. Like this, we've had a lot of sorrow in our country and coming to where we are now.
And pre-COVID, I went on some field trips with my kids too. So we have the Probst Dungeon and just a lot of things downtown that are.
What the heck is a Probst Dungeon?
That's just what it's called, Probst, but it's the dungeon. It's like, it was the jail, but it's underneath, and it has these like cathedral groin vault arches underneath this big building that hold it up, and it's all like stone, and there might even be some dirt ground down in there. Anyways, it was a cool field trip. But then we have all the carriage houses and all the history downtown too.
One of my favorite field trips is the Maple Hill Cemetery field trip.
Oh,
Have you ever done that before?
Yeah, I did it when I was a kid.
Oh yeah. Well, it's cool because they go around, and that's another thing. They have not done it for 2 years now, and I was so disappointed by it because I keep telling people who just recently moved here about it, and then it doesn't ever happen because of COVID. But I can't remember what it's called exactly, but it's like the Maple Hill Cemetery walk or something. But they do it right at Halloween, like the month of October.
Like a ghost tour.
Well, no, well, sort of, not really, but so all the people who are buried in the graves, someone comes to pretend like they're those people, and they stand on top of their grave and they explain to everybody their life. So they pretend to be the ghost of whoever they're standing on top of.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
So you go around and you listen to all these people talk about all this stuff that's about the people who died there, like one of the popes is there, and he talks about his life, and it's actually his like great grandson or something that is the ghost. So it's kind of like really cool. It could really be what he looked like.
Yeah.
And then another one they had was I can't remember. It's the Black Widow. Have you ever heard of the Black Widow? Okay, so she lived in Hazel Green, I think, and she's buried in Maple Hill Cemetery, and she killed like 7 husbands. Well, so she was never tried, so they don't even know if she actually killed them. But like she was married 7 times, and like each husband like mysteriously died. So like she's up there talking about her life, and she's like, "Well, I don't know how he died, but it was food poisoning. I don't know what got in his food." And then she's like, and then like one of her husbands is like standing there right next to her, buried next to her. And he's over there like, "Yeah, I was her 3rd husband." And anyways, it's so funny.
Yeah, that is funny.
Yeah, so the Black Widow of Hazel Green. I think it's Hazel Green. I'm not really sure where it may be hard.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
that's fine. Yeah.
Anyways, so we love.
But I also like to support local, so I try my best to use like all local vendors, contractors, pest people, or for gifts or whatever I'm doing.
And I mean, I buy most of my, like if I get a client get a gift or something for saying thank you or whatever, I usually like get them gifts from local places. I know this past time I had a customer we closed I think last week, and there's this place in town called Blooms, and it's this cute little store downtown that it's like got like a lot of decorated things. And
I think I've heard of it. I think I may have went to high school with the owners, maybe.
Really? I don't think they're your age, but
okay, maybe it's a different place.
Maybe. Anyways, but it's so it's got really cute stuff in it, and most of it's like local stuff. So like there was this candle there that was like Montesano candle, so like it's supposed to like smell like Montesano. I thought that was so cool, so I bought one for my customer because they were moving away. So I was the seller, sold their house, and just trying to get stuff to help them remember Hensel. But anyways, but yeah, and like local, you said like local vendors and stuff. I'm always trying to make sure I bought some stuff from Harrison Brothers. And like when somebody refers me as a realtor, I always try to like send something to appreciation. I send like gift cards to restaurants, local restaurants.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's the best part of Charleston is the food.
Yeah.
Our food is so good. I mean, like the Red Lobsters and Shoney's and Olive Gardens don't even stay in business because it is just so good here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me too with the local things. Well, Jenny, I think you're an excellent realtor.
I think you're the bomb diggity. If I were ever buying a house in Charleston, you'd be the one.
Yeah.
So you got
sorry.
all those qualities we talked about today, girl.
Yeah. Well, comment down below if you can think of some more things that make a great realtor, or why Jenny or why I was your realtor. And follow us on
Subscribe.
Hit the subscribe button.
Mm-hmm.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us social media. We're out there. Addie Jane Lynn, King Tide Real Estate.
Jenny Shaneyfelt, Red Bridge Real Estate, Huntsville, Alabama.